episode 7 of Both Laugh, the Dying Scene Quarantine Sessions. Special on a Tuesday night this time because, well, frankly, because Hot Water Music is doing a thing on Thursday. And so I figured let's do it on Tuesday instead. And we are lucky enough, I am lucky enough to have Brian Venable as our illustrious guest tonight. I've been looking forward to this one for a while. Brian, for those of you that know him, is one of the coolest guys on the planet. For those of you that don't know him, hopefully I do a good enough job of explaining or getting him to explain why he's one of the coolest individuals on the planet. I see that he has joined the room, so just smash that little request button. Let's see if this works. Waiting.
Did it work?
Hey, we work.
This is more nerve-wracking than the interview. My palms are sweaty.
I've done probably 100-something interviews, not just on here, but whatever over the phone. I get nervous every single time. And then waiting for technology, like waiting for you to click in, I thought I was going to have a heart attack every time I do one of these things.
Man, after I was like, it's 5:57. I can't really get into anything because I'll forget. That was my biggest fear, is time is a construct. And I definitely would be like, oh, it's 8:30. And you're like, what?
Yeah, I thought I was going to be late for my own show because for whatever reason, when we were having dinner, our kid was talking about music and what music was cool when we were her age. And I know I sound like an old man yelling at a cloud when I say shit like that, but like music was better when we were 11 or 12. And so I was going down the rabbit hole of music that was good in 91, 92, 93 when I was her age. Man, I got into watching old PM Dawn videos and shit.
Today got to introduce young David, the roommate, to early Scorpions, like the psychedelic 70s Scorpions, and REO Speedwagon's hard rock days before the power ballads. So.
Oh, really?
Oh,
see,
yeah.
I don't even know that.
REO Speedwagon were amazing. And when they came out, they were all like ZZ Top. The guitar player was astounding, and it was all political. Like they did all this stuff, and then they went through 4 singers, and the singer that's the famous one was the second singer and the last singer. So he got kicked out.
Really?
Yeah. But yeah, all morning, and I was like, man, and the Scorpions, like they started in like 69. It was 65. But all their early records, are all like, there's this one I got to find now called In Trance, and it's just like Hawkwind.
Did you grow up listening to that shit? How do you find all of this shit out?
Here's the fun part for me. One of the rare things that my dad gave me was, in his day, he was like he would go to these concerts at the fair, and he'd bring binoculars, and he'd give me the notepad. And so he's all going, G, write it down, boy. C, G, C, A. Like he was following their chord changes. But he's a big archivalist. So one of the things he told me was just like, hey, man, listen to the radio, find out what you like, go to the store and find it. And that's kind of the same way. It's like, I found these, I discovered Buck Owens because I found a big pile of records somebody had thrown out a big pile of records. And it was just like, oh, or when I got tired of punk rock and discovered Leonard Skinner, you start looking and you're like, oh, T for Texas is Jimmy Rogers. That's the Carter family. So like I make fun of Starbucks type things. Like I love Otis Redding, but there's so much more than Otis Redding. And that's where it's super snobby of me, but there's always an element of like, don't stop digging,
yeah,
Redding, there's somebody more amazing, or, obviously Levi's and Coca-Cola win the war. So Otis Redding is a premier soul artist, and so that's the kind of thing to where I also worked at a record store for like 8 years. And so I had access to the largest used record collection a child could have, so to speak. So my phases were like 6 months to 6 days. And so hammer it all in and absorb it. And so, yeah. That's hold on. The Fox News wants to tell me something. I don't want to hear it.
Ugh.
I get all the updates and I watch all the different ones. So, but that's the only thing. But yeah, so that's the kind of stuff to where I like REO Speedwagon. That shit's catchy. I don't care. But then once you start, some old dude at the guitar store be like, "Oh, that's not real REO Speedwagon," and so all of a sudden you're just like, "Holy crap," you know. And pretty much every stoner kid in the world of a certain age, like when you said 91, I'm laughing because I'm all like, "Whew, those are the dark years for me. That was my 20s." So, but yeah, I don't know. And that was the internet. I used to torrent everything.
Yeah. Well, kids now, my daughter was talking about how they find out music, and most of it nowadays is through TikTok. So, and TikTok is in like little 15 to 30-second snippets.
Rachel,
and then
person, she was like, "You got to get on TikTok," and I was like, "I'm too old to get on fucking TikTok." She's like, "You'd be perfect."
I don't know.
Like,
Sal from Rebuilder. I think you know Sal from Rebuilder. He's from around here. He's on TikTok now. He has taken that damn thing by storm.
he wears big sunglasses and fur coats. He's made for TikTok. I, on the other hand, maybe not.
He's into wearing velvet jumpsuits now.
That just pulls at my crotch. Just makes me sweaty thinking about it.
Well, but that's how kids find music now, is they learn these 30-second snippets of a song and then maybe go download that song and that's it.
Yeah, or video games. Henry, I'm pointing at Henry that you can't see. He's in the other room, but his friend was like, "Oh, you got to get Spotify because you can listen to songs while you play video games," you know, and so, or soundtracks stuff. I mean, you know, like that was for us in Lucero for years. These BMX kids would come to these shows and they're screaming for this song that we haven't played in 5 years. And we're like, "How do you know that song?" And they're like, "Oh, they used it in a BMX video." So we're having to go back and relearn some of these songs because they're using it, they're cutting it into these. So these kids watch it 50 times because they watch these videos. And
well, there's like, I grew up watching skateboarding and rollerblading videos, and so that's how we got into a lot of the punk rock stuff. I know it was cool for 12 minutes there, but that's how we learned about a lot of punk rock stuff before '94, when punk rock was everywhere. But in New Hampshire, we didn't have punk rock, but we had skate videos. So that's how you found out about Bad Religion and like the first Offspring album when they were a punk band and Dexter had dreads and shit like that. Like, that's how we found out about that stuff.
Yeah, and that's the same. I mean, I had the Maximum Rock and Roll cup. The first comp I ever got was Flipside Volume 3, I think. And it had DI, it had 7 seconds, it had, you know, and it's those comps. But what I never saw till later is there also like VHS comps. Like there was videos or stuff with them too. But I never got to see that.
Yeah.
Really. But yeah, like skate videos. Yeah, that's where you learned about all that stuff.
I wanted to ask you where that BMX stuff came from, because that's a world I know nothing about. But being in Memphis, I know there's like a BMX crew that comes out to shows and shit like that.
Well, what happened was Ryan Corrigan, who builds ramps now, he wrote on FBM, which is Steve Crandall and all those guys, upstate New York company. He used a Red 40 song in his clip. And then when it came time for another clip, he asked to use Kiss the Bottle. And so, yeah, we just went down there, met Crandall. Somehow, I mean, it could have been skateboard. It could have been rollerbladers. Let's be honest. I don't know if I'm supposed to look at me or you. This split screen's fun, so I'm looking a little bit googly.
I know.
But
I always look at you, but
I can't read anything they're writing, so that's all on you.
I'll take notes if there's anything cool. Jeff has chimed in a few times. My wife and kid have chimed in a few times, but mostly it's just people waving.
Okay. But yeah, and that was the thing, is like they took to it. We had songs about drinking and running wild, and those BMX kids were crazy. And yeah, so we ended up for about 3 or 4 years, man. We were on every BMX video, on props, on everything. So we just gathered this lunatic BMX cult friend cult situation. So that's
fascinating.
Yeah, no, I mean,
because I didn't know that even existed.
I mean, it's the same, I guess, in the skate culture. You know, like I'm old. I don't skate as much. But for a while, you're like, "Oh, skating's dead." And they're like, "Nope, there's always some little pocket of somebody." You know, it's like the punk rock thing. You know, punk is dead. And it's just like, no, it's next door and you're listening to
Yeah.
alt country now or something. You know what I mean? Like, oh,
Right.
you know, it's like somewhere there's a basement full of kids making noise that you're going to hate because you're old now and you're going to talk about, you know, back in my day or whatever.
Right.
So,
Because now you're wearing a flannel shirt and have a beard. What?
do you follow Jesse Michaels on the Instagram? Singer for Operation
I
Ivy?
think I do. Yeah, I think I do.
Man, there was one of the little stories, and it's like straight up punk rock band. He's starting like he plays guitar and sings, and there's it's a 3-piece, and it's all, they were just practicing, and I got real excited. I don't know why.
Really?
Yeah. So,
Yeah, I had a friend who interviewed him a couple of years ago now, and he never does interviews now. And he did like a Skype video, so they were talking to each other. And he wants nothing. He and Tim Armstrong both. They have no concept of why Operation Ivy was such a beloved band because
man,
it existed for like 15 or 18 months, really.
I bought
But he has no concept of where they fit.
I bought the 7-inch when it came out, and then I bought the LP the day it came out. I was stoked. You know what I mean? Like, and I feel like it's a certain, for them, whether they understand, it's the same as Gorilla Biscuits. How is a straight edge hardcore band so universally loved by straight edge kids, dopers, weirdos, ravers? Op Ivy's just, it's universally happy music. It's not making fun of nobody. It's all like, it's Bob Marley for punk rock kids, basically. You know, like, we get along,
You know,
get along, hey, get along. And it's just, but yeah, I went down a rabbit hole one time with him, and I started like Ken. I can't remember. He's an acoustic singer-songwriter, Korean kid, and I only say Korean because that is a huge identity.
right.
But playing, and then he started doing an Op Ivy song, and Jesse came out of the crowd or from backstage and started singing along. And then there's the video of that crusty ska band. They're not really ska. I forget their name, but they're all from New York, maybe. Sasha was in that band. And but they started doing Op Ivy in this little record store room, and Jesse pops out of nowhere, and all of a sudden he's singing, and these 42 people are losing their fucking mind.
Right.
And so I got on this thing to where I was like, yeah, I followed. I don't care about Rancid. They were good for 10 minutes to me. We went and saw them in Little Rock on their first tour. And the kids in Little Rock were just being dicks. I mean, they were just young kids. They were sitting on the stage, facing away, just being shitty.
Yeah.
And quit playing. They were like, well, y'all don't want to see this. We're done. And me and William from Cop Out and Katie and all these people had driven. And Lars had just joined the band, and he had a Blitz shirt on. So we're like, Blitz. We didn't know they covered Blitz yet because the record hadn't come out. And he's like, wait. And we're like, Blitz. Yeah, they're going to do a cover. And then they just were like, we're done. And I'm just like, bitch, finish the show. You know what I mean? And now I didn't even play it, but now it's just like, it could be pouring rain, no sound, everybody, you know, like, and you just finish the show. And after,
right.
kind of like, and then Tim went crazy. I'm like, the fact that nobody calls him Lint anymore, and it's just, or whatever. And so, but yeah, like, but Jesse, he did all those other bands, and he went off and became like a teacher or something crazy or something normal.
Yeah. I think he was painting for a while too.
He still paints. I'm trying to get one of these paintings off of him. He don't come off.
Yeah.
Like, everybody wants a painting, and pretty much if you know him, you can get a painting, unless you go to a gallery, maybe. You know what I mean? Like, I don't. Yeah. I'm not getting a painting. So
you got to move up the ladder a little bit.
I am socially irrelevant. I got to make better friends.
I wonder if you could trade him a painting for a painting. I wonder if it's like mixtapes back in the day.
He's got to be. I just don't know him enough to be like, hey, I'll trade you paintings, and he might be like,
yeah.
You know, like if he knows, like, hey, you're Brian, you're kind of cool and funny. I'll be like, yeah, look at my paintings. Be like, that's cool. I'm like, yeah, we should trade. He'd be like, yeah, it's so calculated. And I just went on the internet and just told everybody how calculating it is. So I'm not trade.
So all 27 people watching right now are going to report back to him.
This is 3 times the amount of people that watch me read at night.
Well, and I usually save these and put them on YouTube too. So we'll see what happens. But I like doing them because I get to talk to people outside the walls of my house. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, this is, like I said, the reading for me was sort of the size. Like, I got tired of watching white bearded tattooed dudes playing songs about girls and trains. And I was like, where are the magicians? Where are the comics? Where is anybody doing something besides, the music is important, but there's a point where it's just like, man, you guys are wearing me
Right.
out. And
Right.
yeah, I've never read a book out loud before in my life, really. You know what I mean? And so,
Yeah.
um, I don't know. And it's a personal challenge for me. Gives me a structure, like, because everything kind of blurs away. And it is. I
Right.
think there's 80 of y'all that follow along, and the rest, somebody clicks
Yeah.
in, "Ugh, he's just reading." They're out. Uh,
But
I,
you have been talking about doing the book club thing for a few years, but now it's like it
I'm,
became a thing.
I guess, and that's kind of what it is. I didn't even consider it to be book club until well into it. Somebody was like, "Hey, you should tell them you got T-shirts, man." And I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, look, I got T-shirts. Look at that." And so,
Right.
but that was the whole joke. Was initially I was going to write reviews on like really hard to read, like an idiot's guide to like hard literature kind of thing, and I was going to have it on the website.
Yeah.
That was going to be the
Right.
whole funny part. But now it's just, yeah, I feel like Uncle Brian or reading books at night. I mean, half the people fall asleep. I think I fell asleep one night. I mean, so yeah, like
I
I'm
fell asleep one night. I definitely fell asleep one night because I woke up and this was a couple of books ago. I woke up and the thing had gone dead, and it was just like you going like this, pointing at the stop button or the end button. That's the only thing I saw. I'm like, what the hell happened? So I had to catch up.
I literally was reading, and then all of a sudden it was like robots and unicorns and space, and then I was like, and I didn't know where I was, and it was like, oh hey,
Yeah.
whoops, and I was reading ahead. I don't know.
You weren't out for very long. Don't worry.
That's good. It felt like a lifetime.
So one of the whole reason I started doing this interview thing, and actually, so I don't know if it makes sense to talk Lucero stuff first and get it out of the way because like give the people what they want. But
Yeah,
if people only know you as through Lucero, like they don't know the half of it. But so when I started the idea of doing these little talks, I wanted to talk to people who are doing stuff to sort of stay busy and stay active and stay creative while we're all in quarantine and shit. And I said, well, you've been gardening, you've got the book club, you've got painting, you've got the music thing now. You're kind of like the top of the pyramid there. You checked all the boxes.
Yeah. I'm a master of none or whatever that. You know what I mean? Like I like to keep busy. When I before Lucero was just a box on a list to some degree. You know what I mean? Like I wanted to learn to paint, and not like I traveled in the '90s and did zines, and then pictures were all grainy, and they just looked like shit. So there was a part where I was like, I should learn to illustrate or draw or something. And I was like, I want to learn to paint. Obviously, the painting I do is not illustrative, whatever. But and that was the Lucero was like, I traded. I don't even know what I traded or I bought from Matt Bradley of the Broken Teeth. I bought it or something to where I ended up getting a basement head, a 115 cabinet, and a Guild SD70 or whatever, the one that looks like a battle axe,
Yeah.
and it just sounded like crap. But all of a sudden I was like, I got sound. We need to start this band, and I've been bugging people forever. But it was also, it's like, initially I'm just known as a poet or a writer. Like that's, if you talk to all the 90s kids, I was the traveling writer guy. I got half a book of poetry done. I just got to go back and finish the rest of it, and then I might self-publish it or send it off to somebody or something. But initially I started writing travel stories that turned into stream of conscious weird rants, and then turned into poetry, and so my poetry collection is probably bigger than most people's book collections at the house, and that's my true love. I just read poetry. People are like, nobody reads poetry, and I'm like, man, I read books of poetry. It's great. Can't write lyrics to save my life because I struggle with the fact that it has to be in a melody or a cadence. I like it written down and you use your imagination kind of thing. But yeah.
Yeah.
And there was a point, like basically what would be considered the sad of the wife leaving was really the beginning of the good, to where it was like, I got a dark room. Once I got comfortable and found myself, it's just like, I'm about to be 49 next month, and that ain't young. And there's a point now where it's just like, if I want to do it, I'll figure it out. Like there's no reason not
Yeah.
to do it, you know. And so, and Lucero affords me the freedom sometimes. Like when we're not on tour, I'm home. I don't have to do a 9 to 5 or an 8 to 4 or whatever, you know.
Right.
So I'm very lucky that way.
One of the, I think the first time that we met was probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, that beer festival show you guys did in Boston. Uh, and I remember, you know, which was sort of a surreal day for me because as a fan of you guys for a long time, I just kind of injected myself into the little Lucero circle that day and never really left.
That's how you do it.
But I, so we were sitting down talking at the public market thing, and you started talking about all the things that you wanted to do. Like painting came up, and recording came up, and writing came up, and it seems like now that all of that stuff has happened. But it seemed like for a while it seemed like it was I should do this, I should do this, I want to do this, and then little by slow those things
Yeah.
kind of
Like
materialized.
I was in a real dark place. Like, you know what I mean? Like it wouldn't like, but that was where like it took me a minute. And that's the whole thing is like, I've been studying Sufism. I've been studying all this, reading physics books. And there's a point where it's just like, man, we're just here for a second. You know what I mean? Like all the, I mean, it just, that's where I can go into outer space legitimately. Like, you know, time is granular. It is not, you know, linear. There is like, you're going to, 100 years from now, nobody's going to know who Lucero is. 1,000 years, nobody's going to know who America is, maybe, you know, or whatever.
Yeah, right.
You know, and that's the whole situation to where once you kind of step back, it's just like, hey, man, I don't need millions of dollars. I want to learn how to work Reaper and how to work this damn synthesizer that don't have a real keyboard. That's tearing at my soul right now. You know what I mean? I got a hole in the roof.
Yeah.
It ain't leaking, but I'm more worried about learning this synthesizer, you know, and hole in the roof I can get to it. And I think that's where more and more lately it is. It's just like I said, I didn't know how to garden. I just started watering shit. And over the years, I've just been adding to it, you know, and hopefully, you know, 10 years from now, I'm going to be like, oh, Grandpa Gardener guy. And they're like, and be like, oh, I remember when I didn't know how to do it. And, but yeah, there's no reason not to be. Lucero is a prime example. I did not know how to play guitar. Literally. I played the 4 Lucero songs, and then I could play the 8 Lucero songs, you know? That's the beauty. It's like I also surrounded myself with strong musicians and good, you know, and people that allowed me to take my time and learn kind of situation. That's the other thing is, you know, if I'd have started this band with somebody that wanted to be famous, they'd have been like, you don't know what the fuck you're doing. Hit the road. You know, and we were just, again, having fun, and it kind of grew on us. So
I think Lucero is a textbook.
That's what? That was the whole, that is, you pick up something and you figure it out till you figure it out.
Right. And 22 years later, you're still figuring it out.
I'm still figuring it out. I'm figuring out this mustache right now, though. Woo-wee, Donkey Kong.
I think that's one of the things that makes Lucero what they are is that the band itself is greater than the sum of the parts. Like I know Ben, we've talked about how much I like Ben and his songwriting and stuff, but it's not just a singer-songwriter and his band. It's like that is a collection of stuff that doesn't necessarily fit together, but then when it shouldn't work. Yeah.
And I think that is one of the neatest things about Lucero is that, I mean, we started, the first 3 shows were a different drummer and bass player, but pretty much within 6 months, we had the core group. And that, like I've learned to play to Ben Nichols. Like I can play with other people, but I know how to play guitar with Ben Nichols' guitar. You know, like we basically learned to play to get, you know what I mean? Like he ain't writing nothing that we can, or like, oh, I know what he's going to do next. You know, and it's not in a bad way. Surprised us in a while because we've grown 22 decades of writing together. You kind of know that Brian sprinkles some Lucero, which is code for weird, out of tune, disjointed guitar that sounds pretty. I'm never going to be a studio, but I can. You want a Lucero solo? I'm your man. You know, but and Roy, you know, like you've seen the videos, he taught himself drums using the binary system. He is a very good but interesting drummer. And
interesting is the perfect word. I've spent like multiple songs in a row, just kind of sitting next to Roy off the side of the stage, watching how he plays. It's fascinating. He's a fascinating drummer, and I mean that sincerely.
And that's the thing is like, yeah, I've honestly, except for those 2 shows, I've never played with another drummer but Roy, which puts me at a disadvantage if I ever join a real, oh, this is how you do it. And I'll be like, ooh, I can't play. Like,
Right.
that's the thing is, I'm playing with all these synths. I'm writing this fun stuff. I'm still not writing words for it because I just don't have. But yeah, like I don't consider myself a musician as much as just I like to create things or all around. It's like art to me or what, I don't know. I'm sounding real weird, but yeah, it's just kind of like I didn't send it under the bed, under the covers, learning Eddie Van Halen licks when I was a kid. I was 26 years old going, man, we should start a band. Don't you know how to play? Don't you need to know how to play guitar? It's like, figure that out. Like I was all before I started playing guitar. And so that's
Why do you think you didn't do the thing that every other kid does when he's 12 or 13 or 14 years old back then and figure out Eddie Van Halen songs?
I blame my father. My dad's a musician. Pretty much his whole thing forced me to play bass. He's like, you learn 3 scales on bass, you can play with any band in the world, you can travel, da 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 da. And it's just like, it's not that I never wanted to be a musician, but it's just like I wanted to be a beatnik writer. You know what I mean? I wanted to and that's what I did. Then I rode trains and buses and hitchhiked and met people and wrote. Like I just wanted. That's my huge wheelhouse for literature is between post World War I and right after World War II. I don't really truck with much late 50s or 60s, and that's all the, like. I don't like Bukowski. I don't like that. I like, if you're going to drunk misogynist, you go straight for Hemingway. Like you want. I'm just saying, and that's the thing is,
yeah,
I want to, like, you talk to all those guys. They all came back from a war and just started fixing cars. It wasn't about being a veteran. It wasn't about. So it was just like, hey, we had to go do this. Now I'm some greasy dickhead that happens to write. Really, that's how their emotions came out or how their feelings, and
right.
That's just all. I like playing guitar. I like talking to people. I like hanging out, I don't know. Some days it's like, woo, rock star. But for the most part, it's just like, man, I'm just a fat tattooed kid having fun.
That's understating it, but I think that's okay.
That is the lowest common denominator, or whatever. You've made that fraction down as low as it could go. But yeah, I mean, that's the scheme of it all. I just, the kids having fun. We get to eat. We got a roof over our head, and I get to do pretty much whatever I want. I still don't know how to tie a tie, and I've never written term paper. Don't even know what a term paper is, but I've never written any sort of paper for school. So those are my 2 things. But yeah,
I just got flashbacks to writing term papers.
But you know what I'm saying? I just
yeah.
I worked. I lived cheaply. I've had fun, and like I said, the Lucero thing was just, we sacrificed a ton to get where we were, plus talent, but there was we all moved in together. We all lived off of nothing. We all had to stay on the road, hard work is the biggest part of it, and so, but that was all.
And you didn't kill each other. Like even when you were all drinking and whatever, you didn't kill each other.
And I tried to kill Ben one time while he was driving. John had to grab me from behind and pull me because I was swinging on him while he was driving, and everybody thought we were going to die. We might have punched him in the face while we were driving. We might have died. Or been hurt badly. Yeah. And I mean, that's the whole thing. It's like we've done it for so long that there's 4 years maybe somebody didn't talk to somebody unless they had to, or, and again, we lived in that big ass warehouse, and so everybody had their own room way far away. And then the bus, we wouldn't be doing this if we were in the van still. The bus affords space, and so we can go in the van in a little time. But if we were like, hey, you're going to do 5 weeks in the van again, it's just like, I'm going to see if Home Depot's hiring.
Yeah, right. you guys were on tour right up until the world shut down.
Yeah, no,
And
that's
actually, I was thinking back to when you guys were up here in Rhode Island, and Jade was sick. She had the flu, and she had missed a couple of days before that. And I don't think it dawned on anybody at the time that there's like this pandemic coming. But at what point of like you guys finishing that tour in Atlanta did you realize that we might not get back out on the road for a while? Like shit's getting weird.
I mean, on the whole time we were on tour, it was just ha 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 beer flu. Everybody called it beer flu. You know, you'll notice now all of a sudden nobody calls it beer flu anymore. You know, like
Right, right.
it was a joke the whole time. Like, oh, this thing's coming, this thing's coming. And it wasn't until we got home, like, I feel like I was one of the people that was like I had to go get a lawnmower from Derek and Meredith, friends, you know. And I was like,
Yeah.
you bring it out, I'll come get it. And this was before shutdown. This was before I was just like, you know, this is going to get weird, you know. And I mean, we're still like we haven't announced a lot of stuff because we don't know, but there's an element of just like, you know, like how real is it versus how much is. You start reading all this stuff, and then you're like, yeah, like we need to make money, but we need to be safe. I don't want to be, you know. And again, it's not even us being safe. I don't want
Right.
to do. I don't want to be going driving around and going, hey, 500 to 1,000 people, come hang out in this one little spot, you know.
Right.
And so, yeah, I think, you know, there was just a point where I personally was just like, yeah, I don't know that we're playing this year. But again, it's all conversation. We might go out in September. I don't know, you know. But once it gets, you just don't know, you know. And I think, like Ben's brother Jeff got it, and he's fine, you know. And so that's the other thing is you got these levels of like people get it, and then they're like, oh, it's just like the flu, and then the other people are like, well, it's not a big deal. And then roommate David, he lost 2 family members. One was 80, and the other was 31. You know, like dead from it. And then
Wow.
we got other friends that are like, it cost them 16 grand just to get treated for it. So it's like, doctor part, it's the medical bills maybe or whatever. You know, there's a guy here that had it, and he can't sing anymore. He played music, and he'll start to sing, but his lungs are permanently damaged where he sing for like a few minutes, and then he almost passes out. You know, like
wow.
And so there's an element of like you might not know anybody. You might be like, oh, the numbers are inflated. Or like people in New York are probably like, bah! They're going to be shattered for decades, probably. You know what I mean? Right. And so the people in Omaha are probably like, oh, I know one person maybe. And so it's been a weird thing because we have meetings. We have talk about it. It's just like, you know, Ben's coming down at the end of the month, and we're going to demo and write the new record and record it. I'm going to wear a mask the whole time. I have no, you know, I'm going to go in and we're going to block it out, but I'm probably not going to go back until it's my turn to play my parts. You know, like those rooms are small, you know, and and that's just me. Again, about to be 49, post-diabetic, don't have insurance. I have to there's just an element of like, I'd rather be safe than sorry. And so.
Exactly.
And and there's an interesting, it's like, again, I do a million things at the house, and I like seeing bands play sometimes, but there's some people that like, put the record on, man, go outside in the yard, run around a little bit. It'd be, you know, like it's like, it's just wait till it's safe or wait till I don't know. Like, so that's the whole thing. It's, you know, is it going to get worse in 3 months? Are we planning for that? Do we plan for that? Or we haven't canceled anything because we don't know. And it's like the Ryman show. I think Ryman just basically canceled everything until next year, you know? And so it's just the word that gets passed around is unprecedented, you know, like really since 1918, we've never as a country had to deal with this, you know, like it's the invisible, maybe killer, maybe not killer. It's undetected. It's a episode of Star Trek. So there's this virus, highly contagious. And you're like, usually you wrap this up within 58 minutes with commercials, you know?
Right.
The thing is like, I don't know. and there's talk of like the drive-in movies and theaters and stuff, and like seeing it in the car, and I'm like, that's fine. But I love all of our fans, but I have a feeling that when you put Lucero fans in a car, there's going to be alcohol, and when they leave, they're all going to jail. Like I don't.
That is a fact. Yeah,
I don't want to be responsible
that is a
for
fact.
42 DUIs that night or whatever. And you know what I mean? Like, and that's something that's like, but something we might try just to see. But yeah, I don't know. This is literally.
There's a venue up here that started doing it. There's a venue in southern New Hampshire that had their first outdoor show. So you basically buy a parking spot, and they give you the parking spot next to you. So they stagger them as they go in the parking lot, and they just set up a little stage near what used to be the door, and they moved everything outside, and that's how they're going to try it for now and see if it works.
My whole fear and concern is like, it's like with the restaurants. It's like to have live music, most of these clubs, you're only going to have what, a 25% capacity. That many people be worth turning the lights on, and like it's going to cost you more to run the place than you're going to make, And that us too. It's like, okay, if the place holds 1,000 people and 250 people can come, we're going to need. Everybody's going to have to pay $300 a person or something. You know what I mean? Like that's not just like to make so that like that's what's going to be interesting. It's like, can the club or the promoter afford guarantee? Even cut in half guarantees are still going to be, and that's it's the same with these restaurants. Like if you're running this restaurant, usually you're on a bare margin, and if you can't half the people in, that means half the people can only come back to work. Half of this, it's that's what's crazy, Hey, Hank Six. The question is how many times would you pay it? That's
right.
Would you do it
twice
a week?
I think there's a lot of us that would pay it for Lucero. The problem is, are you going to go to 25 or 30 or 50 shows a year of different bands? Because you can't, because now it's all $300 a pop.
That was the live streaming thing with the tips. There's a point where it's just like, hey guys, I got $50 for the whole week.
Yeah.
Does one person get $50? 10 people get 5. How do you want me to separate this $50? And and then that's what I'm saying. It's an issue, and that's what's just been interesting is because like everybody wants to open up, but it's just like you can only serve. One of the places I saw, like that place in Arkansas, did it, and you could only serve sealed drinks or so half your like you could only buy like a can of beer. You couldn't get a
okay.
You know what I mean? So it's like it had to be sealed. It had to be all there. So there's so many like your profit margins are going to get cut, And let's be real, bands play clubs historically so that clubs sell alcohol. It was an entertainment factor. And if they're not, their margin isn't the band. Their margin is the alcohol sales. And if it's cut 70%, it's going to be tough, And it's not about we hate music. It's just economics at that point. And so, it I don't know. And that's it's kind of scary. Like, like honestly, like I'm like, do you want fries with that or screws are on aisle 11? That's my balance. You know what I mean? Like, where I'm like, I dropped out in the 10th grade. I'm not a like graphic designer moonlighting as a guitar player. You know what I mean? Like this is like, this is my career for 22 years, And so that's what makes it even more interesting is that like, and it's not just me, it's across the board,
Yeah.
So like, I think John Moreland I saw was like, he's just done. He's like, I'll be back in 2021, but it's just John Moreland,
Right.
And that's an interesting.
Yeah. There's a lot of people who have at this point have just said, we'll see you next year, basically, which is scary because you hope people can last that long on whatever limited income they have until then.
Like I said, I'm all like, what are you, a real estate agent? What do you do for, like, what's your side hustle?
Yeah.
That but for us, it's like, we made the cruise shirts. I'm not even sure how many sold or whatever, but that was just trying to, help out and everything. But I think might be a live record that we're putting together to come out. I think we're going to try to do like one of the, like at Minglewood or somewhere, like a live stream, like dun, 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 nobody's in the room, whatever. But but yeah, and it's just interesting. And with Ben living in Ohio, that's an interesting part is you can have Ben do it. He can do it every day of the week, but have the
Right.
actual band involves him traveling, which safe or unsafe, it's still like him having to leave
Right.
family down here during the middle of the pandemic. So it's just
Right.
really, you know what I mean? Like that's what I'm saying. Like, and that's where I think everything is getting weighed versus, I need to get paid, but getting paid and then dying or getting real sick.
Yeah. Right. Are you looking forward to getting
Man,
back into
that's
the
my
studio?
drink
At
coffee
least does that
records.
give some semblance of normalcy?
Yeah. Looking forward to my shirt. Man, shirts are overrated. I try not to wear them at all. I'm trying to be nice.
You're a gentleman. Are you
Ah,
looking forward to getting back into working on new material the next couple of weeks and next month? Does that
I,
make it feel like it's a little bit normal at least? Or
gives me a
you
deadline.
seem to have settled into a groove at home now too.
I've been getting a little sketchy. Um, I've been aching to play something new or write stuff for a while. Like that whole last few tours, it was like we'd come into town, we'd spend 3 days running through old stuff, and after a while, you're just like, I mean, I need to learn it.
Yeah.
But yeah, like when we were doing that new song, was it the match or whatever he's calling it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you're like, I don't know this really at all, and we're about to play it in front
Yeah.
of. You're like, playing music for me. This is live performing,
Yeah.
So it's just going to be nice. Like I always get real nervous going in making the records because it's just like Ben's got some random demo. He's been working a lot harder on the demos this record than he has on any of the other ones, and I think it's because we just been stuck at the house. So
Yeah.
they're a little bit more fleshed out and everything. But usually you're just like last record, we just went in with like half a song and a smile, and there's there's an element where you're like, oh, I don't know, man. Holy crap, this is coming together. And then it just gets amazingly fun, and it's like this. It's like, these things are fun, but I sweat buckets making sure that I'm a connect to you. And it's the same with the record. It's like going in, it's like, I don't know. I don't play very good, or I don't know anything, or I don't know any parts, and then you get in and it's just, you submerge 8 hours a day. And at some point it just came around like, oh, this is what I do for a living, and I'm creating everything. So yeah, it's going to be fun.
I was going to say, is it going to be weirder now because he's done so much work on writing and whatever beforehand?
And
Or is it weirder going in and having nothing and just knowing you just have to kind of wing it and build something together?
Equally, like I think he's up there just fleshing out stuff. I mean, some stuff he might be married to, some stuff not, or whatever. But I think once again, the whole thing is whatever keyboard part he puts on there,
Yeah.
like, well, let me take a pass. And if you don't like it, well, like there's elements of stuff but once we get in there, I liken it to that Armageddon movie that space movie where they bring out that Land Cruiser thing and the guys go in there and just start taking it apart and putting it back together. And that's kind of
I never saw that movie.
What? That movie?
I never saw Armageddon. I think because that song came out before the movie came out, and I hate that song with every fiber of my being.
I bought the 45, and I was a grown man. I love that song. Love it.
Yeah, I hate that song with every fiber of my being. Man. It's a Diane Warren song. It's not even an Aerosmith song, but whatever.
That's so great.
It might as well be a Whitney Houston song, which is fine if it were a Whitney Houston song.
You watch your mouth there. Whitney Houston, she's coming back to life, and I'm going to marry her. Now, I get
Don't leave her alone in the bathroom.
I'm going to kill Bobby Brown. He's a monster. I don't know. I mean, it's the same as I hate walking in Memphis. Point being, we can argue that's a whole nother world. That's a cheesy, amazing movie. The best part of that movie is you get the DVD and look at the outtakes, because Billy Bob starts doing Sling Blade voice to what's her name, the girl, Aerosmith guy's daughter, and that's pretty hilarious.
Yeah.
She just quit laughing and stuff. But point being is when Ben brings these sort of structures, we kind of go in and it's like, okay, what are we doing? You know, and I think that's where it's like, I'll learn some part, or I'll take a pass, or it'll combine, and that's where that's the fun part. It just grows. You know what I mean? And that's what I'm saying is, like, you initially go in, it's just like I feel like on Among the Ghosts, there was some song that we started out, we were like, okay, let's figure this out. And he starts playing something. We spent the whole day, and it was awful. You know, we were just like, this is going to be a rough record. And then we went in the next day and we're like, fuck that song. Let's do this. And it was just like, you know. And so, yeah, it's like anything. Once you get a structure, it's fun, you know, it's fun. So, but yeah, it's going to be.
You're recording at the same place as last time at Sam Phillips, right? Yeah.
So, yeah, now, I mean, yeah, I think we're doing a little pre-production at the Space, and then the 1st to the 19th or something at Sam Phillips.
I'm excited for that. Although, are you going to keep up the book club while you're recording, or is recording going to push the schedule too far?
Well, like I said, I feel like when we go in, you block out songs. You spend like 2 or 3 days, everybody plays together to build the track. And that's basically building it around Roy, so to speak, the drums. And then You can get a groove, you get a feeling, and then I'm done for like 2 weeks, you know, or whatever. Like, no, I'm saying that's like Roy goes in and fixes everything. John starts doing bass, Ben's foot, you know, like 2 weeks might be an exaggeration, but sometimes they get built up to a point where it's like, oh, you come in and put your guitar on there. So yeah, there might be a couple of days where my other concern was just like, hey, can I sustain it? But if we went out on tour, my book club is prime when I'm playing, you know what I mean? Like, you have to change, like, be earlier, you know, which is fine too. Well, I don't even know. I feel like it's the perfect time. I could maybe slide it back to 9 o'clock for me, 10 o'clock for everybody else. But the other thing, when I did the book club, I was trying not to compete with all the live streams, like 6 to 9 or 10. So I was trying to get it to where you would go see somebody play, and then you could listen to the book, wind down with the book or whatever. But yeah, I'm gonna do it as much as I can. I mean, all it is the phone and a book. You know, like,
read from stage. My wife said that'd be awesome.
You think Ben Nichols will let me get away with that? No.
Maybe one time.
He'd have to be like, I got to pee.
What have you allowed Ben Nichols to get away with? He can meet you halfway once.
Man, he's met me halfway a lot. I won't go say that behind the scenes. So, yeah, he has put up with me, drunk me, dumb, uneducated me, annoying me. I'm a lot to handle sometimes. So, not gonna lie.
That's your new bio, is Brian Venable. I'm a lot to handle sometimes.
I'm not saying I'm the center of the universe, but yeah, I am. Yeah, I am. Now, so,
yeah, for people that don't know, what we've been reading is this fun little book called The Master and Margarita, which is Russian literature. We read. What was the first one? Confederacy of Dunces, right?
Yeah.
And then The Razor's Edge, which is a book that frustrated the ever-loving shit out of me. It was a really good book, and that frustrated the hell out of me. So I feel like Russian post-war literature is back in my comfort zone.
Yeah. And that's where, I'm looking at, crap. I put my phone by my computer, so I think I'm talking to you on the computer. So I feel like I'm stuck here. But I'm not.
Yeah.
My little workstation and all my sets.
Oh, nice.
Well, there it is. Yeah. So I might read that next. The Redneck, is it backwards?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's The Redneck Bride, yeah.
And because I was thinking I still want to read Don Quixote one day. And then I feel like The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Universe would be easy almost by this point. After some alien names will probably be just as damn hard as
the Russian ones.
Russian. So, man, I got to investigate because I know a lot of those names. He's just making words up. There ain't no way that there's that many Holonogabogalibots in there. I mean, I know that there can be, but I feel like he's being excessive. So,
Well, and the thing about the Russians, they always use the middle name as well.
yeah,
So you don't just get Nikolai, you get Nikolai Andrikovich because they always use the patronym, which is considered like if we were to call somebody sir or madam or something like that, it's considered like a sign of respect in the Russian lit world. So, except that if you're not Russian, you can't pronounce any of those names. Like, I laugh because I can pronounce them all in my head because I'm
yeah,
married into, as I said, a Russian family. But out loud, I sound like I'm doing what was Rocky Four, Ivan Drago. Like, I
yeah.
feel like that's the only way to actually say those names is to pretend you're doing like an impression of Ivan Drago, and then they make sense. But it's probably
Well,
not polite
it's
to do that.
trying to book through this. I'm trying to just read, and that's like, I know that Berlotz is not how you say that man's name, but I'm just like,
Barely,
what is it?
it will forever be Berlotz to me now every time I see it. But it's Berlioz.
Yeah, see
But he
now,
was named. He named the character after a composer. There's an old composer Berlioz.
yeah. Well, I mean,
But so it's the same. Yeah,
Rimsky, he's a composer. Like he's putting
yeah.
all these. But yeah, and even that, all that stuff, all the classical and opera. Nope. I'm like Don Corleone, blah blah. I'm just like, man, I don't know. I read it. I've never had to. That's why reading it out loud helps me kind of slow down and see that too. So, but yeah,
Yeah.
I don't. John Fergus Ryan, and it's full of colloquialisms, even more than the Confederacy of Dunces. So that one was, but the print, look how big it is. Woo wee! That's the biggest.
Oh, nice.
The biggest
Yeah.
problem I'm having with the Master Margarita, that print is a little too small for me in that edition. Like, I'm like, Lord, hurting my eyes. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I don't know. It's just fun, and I don't know. I mean, you can't like. There's my library, or at least part of it, and then
Yeah.
there's a whole nother thing. That's David's section. But yeah, like, so that's where it's just like I don't know what I'm going to read next, or I'm, like. And then the reading nook has the important stuff.
I like that we get a tour. This is
Yeah. And so that's like, this is where I'll probably, when the tent comes down, this is probably where I'll be reading just because it's easy. But I do like the tent,
yeah.
but it's about to get into that late 80s and early 90s in here. And then not the years, but the temperature. And I'm not going to lay out my muggy ass tent with all the dang old bugs.
Yeah. There's nothing worse than a tent when it's 90 degrees and humid out. Well,
And the
especially
bugs,
if the dogs come in.
and it's dark. So all them bugs come after that light while I'm reading. So
Right.
that's keep that fan on me, even if I'm cold, is because that blows the bugs off while I read. But it's blowing right into my ear. I'm worried I'm getting a like thing. So
we're gonna kind of run up against an hour, and I try not to take up too much of people's time. And I didn't really have questions. I figured we'd just shoot the shit, and when an hour was done, an hour was done. But we talked about Lucero stuff for a little bit there. Although somebody asked why you switched from the Tellys to the SG, although there was the flying V in the middle there. And then Jeff asked, let's talk about hardcore. And I can't talk about hardcore because that is not my territory. But I can talk about guitars. Oh, you got the little floating circle thing now. Let's see if... Oh,
are you there now?
Now you're good. Yeah.
Okay.
You're good.
Now you're freezing. Let me see. Are you there?
Yeah, you're good. You look good from here now.
Yay. Yeah, no, the whole thing with the telly is, I mean, I want to know how that guy can tell the difference. You know what I mean? Like, not even being mean. It's just, I wouldn't be able to tell.
From my pictures, probably.
Well, but I'm just saying, no, I mean, sound wise, it's just,
yeah.
I went from single, it's not even a telly, just single coil. We were playing all that kind of country, when we had the horns, we were doing an R&B thing, and that's the telly coil came in. And then when we started doing Among the Ghosts, it was more of a Southern Gothic kind of heavy, and that's where I was like, ooh, the V just looks neat, but I was like, I got solos, and that kind of thing, and that's where, yeah, and then the V's just heavy, and then I got that SG, and it's just light. That's all. And right now I'm playing this thing.
Oh, is that the one that somebody made for you?
Yeah, he makes guitars, and basically this is a telly. It's just a real churched up telly. So
Yeah.
I don't know. From what I'm hearing with the demos, I'm going wiry talking heads, whatever, because his demos are they're a little new wavy. So
Really?
well, we'll see what it ends up. But
Yeah.
ideally, I think I'm going hopefully back to the single coil. Ideally, I would like to have both. Like, if it's a big heavy song, I'd play the SG, do big solos.
Yeah.
Sad or whatever song, I would do the single coil. But
What did you record Among the Ghosts with?
I record. Ooh, do we have time? I can show you. I use the same guitar for the last 4 or 5 records.
Oh, okay.
I got this guitar this is the first guitar I ever got from Fender for free. It's the James Burton Mexican Telecaster.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow. I've never seen that one.
Well, the whole thing is it's got this super crazy neck on it, but somehow, and it's stock. Ain't nothing changed on it, and I'm doing this wrong, aren't I?
No, I saw it there for a minute. That thing looks like a baseball bat.
Yeah. And so, but somehow when we started, I brought it into the studio. I played it live a little bit, and now I don't bring it out no more. It's just for the studio. But yeah, it records really well. Stock pickup and everything. So I'll be playing this other one, but I'll bring that telly just for whatever. Because I have a feeling I'll start playing this one and then all of a sudden go back to using the telly, that particular telly. And so, but yeah, that's what I've used on 1370 since 1372 maybe.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's my recording guitar. It literally comes out. Maybe I change the strings or get it set up. I play the record and then I put it back under the bed.
There's a lot of magic in that guitar. Why do you keep it under the bed?
Because it's for records. It's a recording guitar. It doesn't really sound that great live. I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not.
Well, and that's
the
neck on that thing is very different than an SG. Like I said, that thing looks like a baseball bat.
That's the only that James Burton signature model is the only neck that guitar is on.
Oh, really?
It's not even a standard neck. It's the James Burton Telly neck. That's the only Fender guitar that has that is the James Burton one.
Oh, wow.
So
that's awesome.
I researched
it. This is gonna. Somebody said, "I'd like a wife like that." I don't know. I don't know what that means.
You're gonna get in trouble is what that means.
Exactly. We're up against an hour, so this will probably end up cutting off. But if it does cut off, thanks for doing this. This is really cool. This has been a lot of fun.
We talked about Lucero. We talked a little about gardening and books. So I feel like we hit Russian literature. I didn't talk about cutlasses or sabers, and I didn't do the up and shot. So next time.
I have started reading the up and shots, though.
Man,
I've been sitting on my front porch and reading the up and shots. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it's great. I reread them. Like I said, I got the big one with the 4-volume now, which looking at it they just explain everything each page. So it's the same as you're reading, just completely. Yeah. So I don't know, but yeah.
I'm already knowing that, like, I'm making notes and know that I have to read it again when I finish this one because.
No, you can reread it. It's a great thing. You reread it. You read it. It's like one of those inspirational books. When you need it, it's there.
Yeah. Thanks, bud. This has been cool. See you for book club tonight.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I got to make dinner and get ready for it.
Yeah. I'll save this. I'll put it up on YouTube. So if people didn't join it, it'll be over there, and I'll send the link out later.
Yeah, I'll put it up too.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, you guys.
Love to Henry.
Oh well, he's somewhere. Bye.
Bye.
Let's see. How do I turn it off?